What's up, y'all? It's Izzy. In today's edition of So You Think You Want to Build a Skoolie, we're going to be talking all about removing bus seats, because you think that's something easy to do and then you go to do it and you're like, oh dang, this is involved. So I know in my actual seat removal video that was posted, the last video that was posted before this video, I did explain a little bit. I let my papa kind of talk. My brother was filming that day, so it was a little bit like all over the place, but I did let the part in where he was talking about what we were going to go do in there. I left that in there, so if you guys are interested in kind of like seeing it on like the actual body of the seat, like motions and stuff, you can go check out that video. I'll leave it in the cards. That's what that's called. I don't know if it's over here or over there, because the video flips and it always confuses me every time. And I say the video flips, which means to be over there, but what if the video's already flipped and it's over there? So a quick disclaimer that I'll always use if I'm talking about demoing a bus is that all buses are different. So some of the things that were common or present in my bus might not be present in your bus, but it will probably be something along the lines and similar. Okay, so for this project you're going to need a couple simple things. So right off the bat, for most things that I'm going to talk about, you're going to need a screwdriver. I would recommend having a Phillips and flat. You will definitely probably need 2 people for half of the project. You will need a wrench set, a ratchet set, and if you wanted to, you could even use an impactor or a drill, and you could use the attachments for the ratchet set on that. And then if all else fails, you might end up having to use a grinder or a reciprocating saw. I would personally recommend the reciprocating saw because grinders come with sparks, and Sparks and I disagree, as you will hear me mention many times. So in this video I'm going to talk about the 2 different steps to seat demolition. You don't have to do the second step, it's just depending on how far down you want to strip the seats to. So step 1 is going to talk all about removing the seats from the bus, and step 2 is going to talk about breaking down the seats. Let's talk about step 1, and that's actually getting the seats out. So there are 6 bolts in the seats. 4 of those bolts are located on the inside and the aisle side, with the bolts going all the way through the floor to underneath the bus. So the nuts are actually underneath the bus, and this is where having 2 people comes in handy. Like if not, it's like you have to have 2 people. Like I don't know how you get around like not having 2 people. And so the process of getting those out is fairly simple. Like I said before, I talked a little bit about it in the demo video, like just a brief explanation of my papa trying to explain to us like how we were supposed to be doing it when we went underneath the bus. But I'll pop up this diagram right here that I drew out for that video too. Basically what you need is you need 1 person underneath the bus with a wrench or some sort of attachment to hold the nut, while the person up top spins it out. There are going to be some that are in some hard to reach places, and you will get kind of dirty. There's like grease and stuff caked underneath the bus, but I mean, no, it's not that big of a deal. But just be fair warned, this is not a easy clean project per se. Now the other 2 bolts on the seat, you are on the outside, so on the walls. There's actually this thin little rail that runs along the bus. If I remember correctly, the seats are bolted in 2 places on the wall, and you do use the same method. Like if you have someone coming and you only have them for a limited amount of time, it's probably better that you just go ahead and focus on getting the nuts loose from underneath the bus, and focus on the sides later, because you could do that by yourself ideally. So this is me editing the video, realizing that I never mentioned why you might need a grinder or reciprocating saw. And that is if the bolts get stuck, like if you can't get to the nuts underneath the bus and they get stuck and you can't get them out, you might have to use some sort of reciprocating saw or grinder to basically cut the bolts to get them out. In my case, I had to use it because the front piece on the bus that like keeps people from like flying forward was bolted to the floor, but then they had bolted the battery box on underneath the bus over top of the nut, so there was no way to get to the nut to actually loosen that. We did manage to break one of them, but the second one we had to use the reciprocating saw up top and just cut the bolt in half, literally. So I guess that is one way that you could technically get by with doing this project without having 2 people, but I mean, I would just probably, if you could get somebody to help. In stripping the seats apart, and it might be helpful while you're actually working on the bus, I personally didn't ride a bus a lot when I was in school, so a lot of these things I didn't know about. If you're someone who rode a bus a lot and you're just curious, you might already know that there are these handy dandy little latches underneath the seats, so they kind of mount like this. And this is attached to the wood, that the bottom cushion, and this little thing here hooks into the frame of the bus seat. And so when you are working on the bus, you can twist this to the side like so, and it releases it from the bar, and you can actually flip the seat cushion up. So if you needed access like underneath the seat without having to bend underneath it, you could use that. Now the back side is on like a hinge. The hinge is connected to the seat and on the back bar of the bus, and it's just screwed in, or at least in my case, mine were just screwed in with I think Phillips head screws, so those were really easy to get out. You could get them out with a screwdriver. You didn't even really have to have the drill or anything, and that was just how the seat swung up. So if you actually needed to remove the bottom cushion from the seat, if you wanted to just do that to get them out of your way, or if you need to strip them down to the frames, all you have to do is unscrew the Phillips screw from this little bracket. There's 2 on each seat, or in my bus, and the case was there was 2 on each seat. So all you have to do was unscrew them and then pull them apart, and they pop right off. So to get the top cushions off, like the back cushions off, the easiest way I found to do was just flip the seat upside down. And if depending on the age of the bus, usually like with older buses, they'll probably end up having like a seat cover over top of them because, you know, wear and tear and kids poke holes in them over time. But those are just velcroed on, so if you see velcro, just pull that velcro back, and then underneath the velcro there should be the original seat cover, and that's usually stapled together. And all you have to do is just take some sort of like a flathead screwdriver, maybe even a utility knife if you have one lying around, to help pry that open and pull it apart. And once you do that, all you have to do is stand the seat back up and then pull the top cover off, and the cushion and all should come off with it, and reveal the frame, which usually has a thin piece of wood in it. In the case of my bus, there were a few of them that were just screwed into place, and I could unscrew them and take those thin pieces of wood out. In the other case, I was not able to do that, which was really frustrating to me because I really wanted to get that wood out and be able to use it, but alas, I could not, and so it is still sitting in my bottom yard in the seat covers, and we might go down there and give them a visit. But that's about the basics of removing a seat. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, if you have any more questions or need anything clarified, leave a question in the comments below. As I've said, I create these videos for people out there who are planning on building a school bus and maybe know nothing, or like me and just need a little bit of extra push of information, and I would really like to build a community below. I think I'm gonna like coin it the Skoolie pod, so mashing together like Skoolies and mermaid life for me, and like just have like a nice cute little Skoolie pod, Skoolie community in the comments section below, where we kind of help each other out and talk about various things. So if you have tips and tricks on taking out seats, please leave that below. If you have tips and tricks on anything else, go check out my other video topics and see if you have any helpful comments that you could leave there, and I will see you all next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.